Hey guys, Ryan Shead here. I don't talk about my old man a lot on here. Maybe it's by choice, maybe it's just because I don't get the opportunity to. He's been gone for 15, 16 years now. But what he did do was work for Chrysler for around 29 years. And when I was a kid, he used to bring home some of the coolest cars. I actually learned how to drive a stick on a Viper. And my dad brought home a 1996 Viper and took me out at 11 o'clock at night to a mall and taught me how to drive it. And once I got the hang of it, he let me drive back home. Well, when we're coming out of the mall parking lot right by the house, a dude in a Mustang pulls up. He's revving the engine, and my dad just looks over at me and he says, "Take him." Really? So light turns green. I fuck up the clutch. My dad's like, hit the clutch. He's got his hand on mine, shoving it with the shifter. Finally, the car catches. We start taking off. The Mustang's, good little bit amount ahead of us. But all of a sudden, we shift that into second, and we just, boom, by the time we hit third gear, we were gone. And that was probably one of the coolest things that my dad and I ever did together. But I tell you all of that to tell you that my dad was a supervisor at Chrysler, Daimler Chrysler, whatever that was called at the time. But being a supervisor means that you can't be in the union. And my dad had about 30 guys that worked with him, under him, whatever you want to call it. He always said work with them. And those 30 guys were all in the union. And my dad always told me, he literally pounded in my head how important unions are. He said, my guys need representation outside of me, and he understood that they needed protection from supervisors that were shit as well. But yeah, he always told me, he's like, if you ever get in that position, always join the union. It's important. That's how you fight for your rights. That's how you fight for higher wages, because singularly, we aren't that powerful in the industrial cog, if you will. But together, when you have 3 car companies walk out at the same time, that's a different story. We have a president who is standing on the picket lines with auto workers for the first time. We're at a point in our country where we had writers, actors, union workers, truckers, teachers, everybody's going on strike. Why do you think that is? Do you think it's because everybody called around and said, you know what, let's just all go on strike around the same time? Just because? No, because all these workers are tired of being taken advantage of. One of the best conversations I've had is with an actor over social media, and she told me, she's like, this is how they treat us, and was sending me their residual checks. And they're like, they were on some pretty high profile shows, and they're like, this is how much I make. It was nothing. And to know how much time they put into that show, how much money they've made off that show, and to know that the actors aren't getting paid their fair share. The writers aren't getting paid their fair share. The people who make our cars aren't getting paid their fair share. That's not because of President Biden. And shit, it's not even because of Trump. It's because of corporate greed. Okay? So it's time that the people that make all the money start getting a fair share of the profits. This is how we change things. We come together as one and we demand change. That means that it's time to vote. That means that it's time to unionize. That means that if it's necessary, it's time to strike. We stand together because we outnumber them. I grew up in Detroit. I've been around auto workers my entire adult life growing up. I've been a federal contractor and watched how important it was for the federal employees to have their unions. I saw the benefit of having a union versus being a contractor. So I just hope that the majority of us can stand with the auto workers, with the actors who are still striking. The writers have come up with a tentative deal, but the actors are still striking. It's time for us to stand up. It's time for us to stand up in solidarity and applaud a president that is willing to go down and stand with the auto workers. I have a feeling we won't see Trump do that.